What's up, crypto junkies? Welcome to another news segment. Ooh, baby, we got a lot of news as usual in the beginning of the week. You can assume that there's a ton of stuff happening in crypto every single week. It's just how it goes, okay? It's really tough to keep up on. So we're gonna actually start with a massive segment of headline hunting here really quick. Some of these I might end up breaking out into another video and do an actual talking, more talking about these things. But for now, they'll just be headline segments, and then we'll dive into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories. So yeah, it might be a long one, so buckle up, let's get going, okay? Binance launched its fiat to crypto exchange in Uganda within the last couple days. More stuff going on with Bitfinex. There's accusations made recently and reported on within the, crypto journalist sites that the trading volume doesn't exist that they've been publishing. So they obviously are combating that. So a US judge ruled in favor of Alibaba and his trademark infringement case against the Alibaba coin name, which it was stated that it was confusing and thus should not be used in the United States, which I didn't even know this was going on. I haven't read this. It sounds completely ridiculous. Trademark infringement cases are insanely wasteful. Like, it's crazy to me how much money you can waste on trademark infringement cases, and it's crazy. I've actually lived through some of that myself and had to spend a lot, and then I know somebody who spent like an actual ton of money to fight a trademark case. It wasn't worth it in the end. Oh my god, it was not worth it. So anyways, very interesting, good to know. I like Alibaba. Jack Ma is stepping down. It doesn't matter. It's still doing good work, and a lot of people are killing it with Amazon FBA because of that. South Korea's FSC has issued a statement to warn investors to be cautious while investing in cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrency funds. You guys know about Tether, so USDT destroyed 500 million USDT in their treasury wallet recently. Binance revealed that it's raised $1.4 million in crypto for the West Japan disaster relief charity project. That's cool. Block Show's got another segment up. They got Tom Lee, amongst other people, talking. He's talking about stable coins again. Some sources are claiming that Backed BAKKT could be launching as soon as 1 week from now. It's BTC futures. That's promising for all the pump chasers. So one piece that I'll probably end up running an actual story on is that Coinbase was granted a motion to dismiss the lawsuit over the alleged insider trading during the launch of Bitcoin Cash. That, I don't know how that's even possible, because there's something that so clearly happened there. I guess the point is that, okay, if we open up the door and we allow this one, then all of it will go, and there'll be a ton of other cases, and then it'll just kind of bring down crypto. I don't know. To play both sides, okay, if that was the case, wouldn't that be in the bankers' best interest if the bankers were scared of crypto and wanted to destroy it? No. They don't actually want to destroy crypto. They want to stretch it so thin and blow out the supply so that they can make a killing on it. That's what they actually want. So they don't want to destroy it, no. The goal is to siphon as much money out of your pockets, the American people, as possible, and get themselves rich. Okay, that's the goal of a centralized bank, at least in America. SEC launches Strategic Hub. That's another one that actually I gotta go deeper in that with you guys. The news anchor from CNBC, Ran Nooner, he's claiming that Coinbase is about to announce its first IPO. Again, is any of this sounding familiar? I've made correlations to like the growth and the trajectory of Facebook, which is in a completely different vertical, right? I understand that. But I've made inroads in comparisons between Coinbase and Facebook. Why do they smell the same? Am I the only one feeling that? Like, really smell the same, just taking over completely, stretching over into this and this and this, just getting its claws all over everything. It's got that kind of typical front-faced person. I don't know, I kind of feel like that with Binance too. But Binance is doing it a little bit differently, more like the Asian version. Anyway, they getting out of the lawsuit, might launch an IPO. Can we smell collusion? Well, I mean, if we're going to play that card, then it would be, obviously there's a ton of people that would benefit from that, and the IPO, and everybody who's going to get in early benefit from that, like we've seen happen over and over and over again in the US. Reserve Bank of Australia Assistant Governor Michelle Bullock said that the bank has not seen a compelling business need to issue a digital Australian dollar. That's kind of funny. The compelling need is the use of fiat itself. Somebody needs to wake him or her up. Ripple's doing back in the news. It's up, doubled revenue. Bitfury might do an IPO. And then that brings us into Okay, so let's dive right in. First one is Chinese courts confirm that Bitcoin is protected by law. What that means is that it is considered a piece of property, okay? It's not illegal. Bitcoin isn't illegal. It should be protected by law because it is a property. There's economic value to it. That's a good sign. I don't think people were expecting a pump off of that news, but between that and Japan granting self-regulatory status to this JVCEA, the FSA did that. They've been cooking this up for a while. I've talked about this quite a few times actually and mentioned like, hey, they're talking about it again. Here it is again. It was actually established in April earlier this year. And it's due to, you know, there's a lot of large exchanges in Japan, and so far there's a lot of losses, just like every other country. The August hack, I think, kind of pushed it over the edge of ZAIF, Z-A-I-F. That was 59, about 60 million worth, okay, in the hack. So that's a good sign. Think about it this way. Every country makes its own self-regulatory kind of thing, and they work with all the top exchanges. And then all of those work together across borders. That doesn't look so bad. And if that, as long as there's some sort of way to ensure there's no collusion and everything else that could go possibly wrong with that is sort of mitigated through accountability and maybe transparency, let's try that one for the first time in regulation, we might just get somewhere. This is interesting and relevant to everything we've been talking about to recent, is the Dash CEO Ryan Taylor was talking at the Money 2020 conference, which just happened in the last 4 or 5 days. And he was saying that bank-issued cryptocurrencies are inevitable. I do think it's inevitable. They, governments, all are going through either competitors' pressure or through their own desires to launch their own cryptocurrencies. But I don't think it is where the greatest innovations will occur. I don't either. And I think it's going to get really, really messy, like CoinMarketCap. You know, CoinMarketCap in the top 10, what happens when that becomes like, when the top 10 is filled with, you know, 15, 20, 30% stablecoins? How are we going to separate those from like the actual market cap of these coins? Do we separate them? Do we leave them together? Like, because they are a centralized thing. They are something completely different. They are essentially like the same as fiat, and you don't see fiat getting brought into CoinMarketCap.com or Brave New Coin, CoinGecko, any of those, right? So why would you do it with a stablecoin? The fact that US Dollar Tether was involved in all these kind of grading scales and market cap scales is just because it was the only one. Well, now there's like 6 or 7, you know, that's quickly becoming an issue. And so I'll be interested to see how they kind of branch those out, because each one of those sites is ran by different people. But collectively, I agree. I don't think that's where innovation will occur. And I just think that it's in their best interest to do it. So they're kind of like, hey, why not? And I also see it as a way for the US government to, at least, if not other countries, to jump out of fiat into digital and kind of use that as an excuse to maybe wash some losses, or just get out of a failing currency that they somehow are able to pivot into something new without having to do a full-scale audit and back it with something else, right? Like gold, silver, commodities. Oh, in case you wanted to know, market cap as I shoot this is about 208 billion altogether. Okay, next, this is a bit of weird news. I saw this creep up in my news feed a couple days ago, and now it's starting to like get out into news. But their new firmware update, we're talking Bitmain. Okay, so Bitmain's new firmware update is highly controversial right now. So they're not winning friends lately. Allegations of cooked books, declining market share, lying on their investor slide deck about who had invested and who didn't. Tencent was mentioned on there as well as a couple of their funds, and then later it turned out that they weren't, and you guys remember all that. I covered that pretty thoroughly. But anyways, the overt ASIC boost firmware upgrade is concerning. So okay, here's what's happened with that is it's not been received well, to say the least. But what people are claiming is that the upgrade could lead to a complete breakdown of the BTC network. One individual, Kyle, and this is the post that I actually saw. This isn't his screen name. I don't actually remember what his username is on Twitter, otherwise I'd link it. And what I want to talk about is the actual tweet that I saw the other day, which was by Slushpool. Somebody had retweeted it and I saw it. And okay, here's what it says. Dear miners, we strongly recommend that you don't upgrade your S9 devices with the new Bitmain firmware. It is not compatible with BIP 310 standard, and as a result, also not compatible with Slushpool. We are working hard on providing our own fix ASAP, and we'll keep you posted. So I think that's interesting. That why are you doing this? And then Slushpool is having to come out and like come up with their own fix for this. It's weird. Bitmain hasn't made a statement yet about this, but I don't know. There's obviously now allegations that, okay, so they're trying to destroy not just cryptocurrency, but specifically Bitcoin. There's a lot of bias there that does not look good good for Bitmain in that case. Okay, that's what I'll say there. But research it yourself and obviously go through this. The thing I'll mention is that this Kyle stated last year that I hope that even those of us who strongly prefer that ASIC boost be blocked completely can come together to support a protective measure that separates concerns by inhibiting the covert use of it that potentially blocks protocol improvements. I think a lot of people don't really understand that this is some of the depth that occurs in cryptocurrency, and this is a part of the reality still, is that there's like a lot of people on the ground with the tech. There's a lot of people on the ground with the development of a lot of these core coin projects that are in top 10, you know, coin market cap and things like that. And there's a lot of things going on that, you know, the retail money doesn't see and the retail money doesn't understand. Okay, now somebody running a mining rig is going to know exactly what is going on with this and know exactly what this means. But overall, I think it is, we'll just chalk it up as concerning for right now, and we'll see what Bitmain comes back with, because as you can see, this was literally posted today, and let's see if this gets loud enough and they make a comment about it. Next piece, India. We're going to talk about India again. 2 pieces with India that I dug up. Indian Supreme Court gives government 2 weeks to submit cryptocurrency report. I believe they've been dragging their feet on this. Yeah, 1.5 months delay, and they want to get somewhere. You can tell, like, India is written about in all these cryptocurrency news sites over and over and over again. It's for good reason. I think that they really are trying to get somewhere with this, and I think they're trying to figure something out. That's all this says. Is I think it goes over some of the issues going on right now. But yeah, so here's a little bit. ZebPay halted its exchange activities in India due to banking problems on September 28th and proceeded to set up operations in Malta. So a lot of people are moving over to Malta. I think that's a good thing. It just further builds what they're doing, what the Minister of Finance is doing in Malta to make that truly crypto island. So, hey, good thing. The other piece that I wanted to talk about is that the police seized not only the ATMs, but the founder. And even Tone Vase was talking about this because he's actually met some of the team for Uno Coin or Uno Coin, however you pronounce it. You guys know I'm awful with pronunciation. What's this guy? Harish. Yeah, Harish BV was arrested. I don't know if it was like during or like after, but it's because he was installing the ATM kiosk at this mall. Interesting and sad that he's been picked up and that they're going to this extent. But India really doesn't play around. You know, look at what they've done with the BitConnect stuff and apprehending those people. And so, you know, there's collusion with the police department, and I'm sure you guys read about that big mess if you're into BitConnect or just maybe you want to get up on some drama. Next piece, pretty big one. I think that this is something that needs to be talked about, but I think it's widely misunderstood. Essentially, there was a private survey or secretive survey that was done that they reached out to every single crypto news outlet to see if they'd take money to cover a project. And a lot of them said yes, but here's what we need to talk about. Is the chart on here, or is that just what's being shared on social media? Yeah, there it is. Okay. This is the image that you'll see when you share this article on social media. And here's the prices. So how much they charge and which outlet. Okay, just to give you an idea. Personally, I think that it's okay to take money as long as they don't try and mask it as some sort of, like it's an organic piece, but they've been paid to do it. And that's exactly what they're talking about. Okay, so out of the 22 outlets who've replied, 12 of them, more than half the total, were willing to publish paid content without disclosing it as such. I think that's a problem just because it's an integrity problem. So there's 2 sides of this argument. There's the integrity side, and then there's excusing the integrity for the fact that the news sites need to make money, and if they make money, then they'll not only stick around, but also too, you can assume that the journalism quality should go up because they have more funding and more money to be able to upgrade the site and upgrade the quality of writers and all of those things. Those are all assumptions based on that. But if we just come back down to human level and yes is yes, no is no, operating from integrity, accountability, you should not be talking about these things without disclosing it. And so, I mean, that's something that I'm big on this channel, about disclosing when it's paid versus I'm just talking about it because it's something I'm into. Because those people have, specifically those brands, those companies have come out and asked me and talked to me about just shooting a segment that is for them. So that is completely different to me than probably what's going on with this, okay? So now there's gray territory to this, which is, okay, what if you do get paid and then you go and research the shit out of it and it all checks out and it is, let's say, a legit project or a sponsorship or whatever, and you write a really great article about it, but you did get paid. So where do you draw the line there? And then where do you mention how you got paid or that you got paid, something like that? I think those pieces should probably be done a little bit differently, right? So on a news site, you have sponsored ads, right? And they show up as sponsored. So Cointelegraph, all of them, they show up as sponsored in all all social media and on the website itself. They're like in a category called literally sponsored. Most of the times they don't write that piece. That piece is provided for them, or it's a very surface level generic, hey, what do you want us to write about? We'll do exactly what you ask for. Now, if they're like doing a hybrid where they go and research this shit out of this and they've gotten paid, and so that was like the driving force to look at the topic, and now they've gone and researched the topic or coin or project or whatever, and now they've written this piece about it, I think it should be mentioned. It doesn't necessarily need to be in like sponsored. Maybe come up with something new. Maybe come up with a new way to present that and explain how you're doing it. Like explain like, look, they didn't write this article. We actually went and researched this for 15 minutes or whatever, 2 weeks, talked to the CEO, did an AMA with this guy, talked to that guy, got their financials from this, like we went and researched, and we too got paid. So like come up with a new segment for that. But the fact that it's like they're leaving it with like this sponsored, not sponsored, and they're taking money and then putting it in a not sponsored category is shitty, right? It's shitty for the viewers, and not taking into consideration the clout that they have and the power that they have with the written word that they are giving, okay? Every word that we speak, there's accountability to that, right? They're 100% forgetting that. So I thought that was interesting and a little sad at the same time. Next piece. This is the Bad News Bear, and sorry, but I'm going to end it on the Bad News Bear as well. MasterCard wants to patent a fractional reserve cryptocurrency bank. That means they keep a fraction and they go and loan out and extend multiples beyond that. So they never have enough to cover what's out, okay? That's what fractional reserve banking means. Now, fractional reserve banking by itself, I don't think is a problem. If you would have just let it naturally play out, fractional reserve banks would have all crashed in 2008, which is most centralized banks now. But because they got a bank bailout, that destroyed this whole natural survival of the fittest in terms of money systems. And I don't think that should really be messed with that. As bad as it would have been, I really think they should have just left it alone and let it crash. But they didn't. And now we see bailout after bailout after bailout happening. And almost like this set of unwritten rules, like we see for politicians, we see the same thing for banks, where it's the average person can't rob Peter to pay Paul and is looked at as an idiot and made fun of, almost, you know, scrutinized for how he's managing his money. But the bank itself is doing like 18,000 times worse. And they're not even getting a slap on the wrist. They're not even getting a talking to. Whereas like the average American is getting made to feel like a loser. I don't like that because it destroys self-image. It destroys self-worth. And it makes people feel less adequate when in fact they're not even operating as badly as the bank that they're banking at. That's what bothers me about that whole scenario. But fractional reserve banking itself isn't an awful thing. I just don't think it lasts that long. Here's what this actually means though, and people still, this is why I'm going to talk about this until people literally get pissed off, is that there's no longer 21 million Bitcoin. Do you get it? There's no longer 21 million total supply Bitcoin. It's gone. It's gone. With something like this, who's going to stop this patent? Like, who's going to stop it? Who steps in to stop this? I actually have no clue. I'm asking you honestly. Like, if you know, put it in the comment section. I'd love to actually know. I don't know. I don't think you can. Why would they want to? So this will take the supply and stretch it. What have I said the banks are amazing at? The banks are amazing at taking supply and stretching it. They do not want to destroy cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and burn it to the ground. No, they want to slowly bleed it out and suck out every last ounce of water and juice until there's nothing left. The sponge is so dry and so hard. That's what they want. And that's what they'll get with something like this. This is terrifying, but yet this will probably be celebrated by retail money, and ETFs are celebrated by retail money. Oh, when's the Bitcoin pump coming? And I get it. There's some people that need to recoup some losses. They got a little overly aggressive back in November and December, bought the top. Where do we draw the line with personal accountability? And just say, hey, maybe you did that because you didn't know what you're doing. So maybe you should just figure out what you're doing. Where do we start having that conversation in all of this? And because I'm on both sides. Like I totally have empathy for the quote unquote victim, and I totally have empathy for like, let's just get smarter and stop falling for this. Because let's be honest, like if this wasn't the first time you've fallen for this, like come on. Just because you bought the top of Bitcoin, you've done this before in other areas. So when do you look in the mirror as an individual? And I don't think any of that's a bad thing. None of that should really trigger anybody. If anything, it triggers people because the ego protects, and how dare you point out the truth, and no, I don't like when people tell me the truth, and I want everyone to lie to me, is kind of takes over. Fractional reserve banking in crypto is a problem. And the argument is always the same, and this really bothers me, but they always frame the scarcity as the actual problem. So no, guys, you don't understand. Because it's a scarce thing, we need to stretch it out so that everyone can have enough. What the f? Like, that's not even a legitimate argument. That's like trying to give everyone on the kids' baseball team a trophy just for participation. That's not how it's supposed to work. There should be some things that are finite. Like, you cannot get away from that. And the things that are finite will obviously have a different value categorization and means of value figuring than others, than other commodities and other resources and other things of value. Why is there this like need to like stretch everything out and make a gazillion of it? Because like right now, literally you would be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders if you had 0.22 Bitcoin as of right now, with the amount that's assumed to be lost, with the total supply and all the other variables. That would put you in the top 1% of holders. This is bad news. We got ETFs, we got the big banks swooping in. And so the thing that you got to look at is like the reason why people are able to call this, myself and a few others, and there's a few others that are way louder than me, okay? I'm like really chill on this actually. The reason why we're able to call this is because we've all seen it before. But we're not letting bias get in the way. We're not letting naivety get in the way and just being like, no, close my eyes, don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look. Is it fine yet? Nope. Okay, don't look, is it fine yet? No, don't look. And we're just like, whoa, wait, stop. This is madness. This is not good. A lot of people don't see that because a lot of times they don't want to see that. It doesn't serve their bias. It doesn't serve their agenda of trying to get rich quick off crypto or trying to recoup their losses so that their wife or their husband or their whatever, fill in the blank, is less pissed off at them, or their friends stop calling them a loser because they got into this crypto bullshit, whatever the reason is. But it's not a true reason. Like, those are all just surface level things going on. So anyways, that's kind of the story there, and I'm sorry to leave it on such a bad note, but what I would suggest is that it still makes sense to hold actual Bitcoin and store that away, get it on your Ledger Nanos, get it on your paper wallet, whatever you got to do, and hold on to that and come back to that years and years and years down the road. I still think that that's absolutely worth it, but this is bringing in a lot of interesting things to crypto itself, and I wonder where the line's going to get drawn on this with all these institutional tools that are being stacked on top, and these second layers, let's call them, getting stacked on top of Bitcoin. Where are we going to draw the line? Because if we don't, then it's just going to beat the price down. It's going to beat the value right out of this thing until we're down to $1,000, just like gold. And you want to learn something about what might happen in the future, you look at the past, and you look at the past of similar things. And Bitcoin is very similar to gold in its way, the way that the limited supply mechanism works, how it has to be mined, so it's an actual proof of work concept. All of those things are very, very similar to gold. When we've seen what happened with gold, okay, so we can see similar happen with Bitcoin, and it could be right down in line to the bare bottom of what it costs to mine Bitcoin, okay, on average. So anyways, that's my thoughts for today, my friends. Do me a favor, please just click the like button. If you watch this far and you're listening to these words right now, take a second, click the like button. It really helps us out in the algorithms and gets us message out there further. And if you're brand new here and you like what we're doing, go ahead and click the subscribe button, click the bell notifications so that you get some notifications in your inbox, like when we go live and some of that stuff, you'll start to see more. And be on the lookout because we'll be launching more videos on the channel very soon, my friends. All right, see ya.